So YouTube family, it's the beginning of a new school year, and it looks like the time has finally come for me to address an elephant in the room. What in the world is a school psychologist? Well, look, I'm here to help you understand what a school psychologist is and what in the world we do. But first, I want to answer, why are we even necessary? Why are school psychologists even necessary? Let's get into it. Now, this shouldn't be a mystery to anyone who's used to working with students, but all children, teens, and young adults can face challenges related to learning and academics, social relationships, and decision-making. But you know what else they have difficulty with? Regulating their emotions and coping with the hardships and traumas that come with childhood and adolescence. Look, all of us adults, we've been through it before. And many students are struggling with learning, grief and loss, trauma, depression, anxiety, ADHD, emotional dysregulation, and a host of other social, emotional, mental health, and academic concerns. And these challenges don't disappear the moment that students step foot in the school or the classroom. They persist and impact our students academically, personally, socially, and yes, even occupationally. Now, as school psychologists, we help students, families, educators, and members of the community understand and resolve a vast array of issues that our students face. Now, these issues impact learning, behavior, self-esteem, and school and community engagement. So whether a child is suspected of having a learning disability or mental illness that adversely impacts their educational performance, or the school needs assistance developing a research-based intervention to modify an inappropriate or potentially dangerous behavior, or the school needs a professional to respond to a student who's expressed suicidal thoughts, we're usually on the front lines. School psychologists are very highly skilled resources to help students thrive in school, at home, and in life in general. And our job comes with an immense amount of responsibility. Okay, so that's why we're needed, but what in the world are we? Well, school psychologists are indeed psychologists, and school psychology is a branch of the American Psychological Association, or APA. We are very unique and highly trained mental health professionals with a number of roles and responsibilities that often include providing psychological services to children as young as 3 years old, all the way up to 21-year-old adults. Now, the overwhelming majority of school psychologists work in K through 12 public schools, hence the name school psychologists. However, we provide our services in a variety of other settings, including private schools, preschools, school district or state Department of Education administration, early childhood centers, juvenile justice programs or juvenile detention centers, school-based health and mental health centers, hospitals and community-based treatment or residential clinics, special education law firms, colleges and universities, and independent private practice. Okay, so now you're probably asking, what's the nature of the psychological services that we typically provide? And that's a great question, so let me tell you. We often conduct comprehensive psychological and psychoeducational evaluations to help determine if an educational disability or mental illness exists and to what extent it adversely affects a student's educational performance or the student's ability to access the curriculum. I'll get into more of this in another video. Many of us also conduct regular individual and/or group counseling sessions with students to address social, emotional, and behavioral needs that impact academics. We also record, collect, and interpret relevant data on student behavior and academic skills. Now, this often leads to us implementing research-based interventions and modifications, the key term here is research-based, to student curriculum to improve student behavior and academic skills. Now, a significant part of the job is consulting and collaborating with other educators, such as teachers, administrators, and related service providers, such as school counselors, which you all have heard of, school social workers, speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, reading specialists, etc. We also spend a lot of time consulting and collaborating with parents, students, and various community agencies. So building and fostering relationships and providing support is absolutely imperative to the profession. Why? Because these relationships with other stakeholders allow us to gather more data to form a more complete picture of the variables impacting the lives of students. And these relationships allow us to educate parents, teachers, and related service providers, and yes, even students, about the students' challenges, as well as bringing them in to assist in coping with and/or treating said challenges. Now, I'm going to talk about relationships more in the future because it's one of the first lessons and most important I learned as a school psychologist in training in graduate school. You know, another major part of our job and profession is crisis prevention and response. Now, many of us are also on the front lines to respond to crises, such as a student who is contemplating suicide or the unexpected death of a student or faculty member or staff member. Chances are we are included in the school or school district crisis response plan and administrative procedures. Now, due to our very unique set of skills and training, we're often responsible for providing professional development, or PD, and training to school and or district faculty and staff about a number of issues, including but not limited to mental health, mental illness, behavior modification, academic and behavioral interventions, and special education law and the Americans with Disabilities Act, policy, and procedures. Now, our primary and most important responsibilities are to do what is legal, what is ethical, and what is in the best interest of the student. So look, I bet most of you didn't even know you had a school psychologist assigned to your schools growing up. Look, I know I didn't. And many of you parents watching this video probably don't know the name of the school psychologist assigned to your child's school. But once again, that's actually not your fault. That actually makes sense because we're often spread so thin that we're not seen in the school building very often. Now, of course, there's more to the role and function of school psychologists. And for that, I want you to click the link in the description down below, because that link will take you to the governing body for school psychologists, if you will, the National Association of School Psychologists, or NASP, document. And what this document does is it really breaks down what we do in a more comprehensive, wordy, and boring way. Okay, so consider it good bathroom reading. I don't know. Look, every school should have access to the services of a school psychologist. Now, do you need to get in touch with the one assigned to your school or your child's school? Most of us can be reached by asking the school or facility directly or central office. Quick disclaimer. I think this is the perfect opportunity to speak on something, and I want to primarily speak to the parents and legal guardians watching this video, as well as the school psychologist in training. Now, I want some of you to be prepared for the very harsh reality that the overwhelming majority of school psychologists do not look like me. But there are measures being taken to actively recruit more men and amazing school psychologists of color. So keep that in mind. Now, after you've done that, if you need to do it, of course, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and make sure you leave any questions and comments below. What I want to do is I want to drop some more videos about being a school psychologist, including some popular myths and misconceptions about the profession. I also want to drop some informative videos for aspiring and new school psychologists. So stay tuned, and in the meantime, take care of yourselves and take care of one another. Peace.